Hi, how are
Dünyayı kolsa negam benim yüzlerce gizli dünyam var. And apparently that goes back to Sultan Suleiman.
you? Wow.
When I hear those lines, what I think is so beautiful about them is it's like him saying, the world ended, so what? I've got hundreds of others, secret ones. What do you think of that?
That's a good start. Um, would you mind to share the whole poem and we can look at it together so we can read it out loud once
Yeah, let me
again?
text it to you.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's more to it. That's the only line I know.
Repeat
Um,
again, I'll Google it.
Sure. Dünyayı kolsa negam, benim yüzlerce gizli dünyam var.
Mm-hmm. Let me Google it. Did you see it in a TV show? How did you find it?
So the way I found it was there's this show Kasem, which I'm sure you know about. One of the
Uh-huh.
soundtracks, somebody left a comment on one of the soundtracks, and I'm like, oh my god, that was a heavy quote.
To be honest, I couldn't find it. But I saw the köse. To uh, let me write it a poem. I don't know the context, so I don't want to mess up. Um, eğer şu dünya tamamıyla yok olsa ne gam benim yüzlerce gizli dünyam var.
Yeah, I think
Anyway,
that's from a TV show.
yeah, I think I see a lot of Facebook or social media posts, but let me see. Is it Ömer Hayyam or Sultan Süleyman?
It's supposed to be Sultan Suleiman, from what I
Okay.
understand. But I guess regardless of the context surrounding it, when you hear those lines, what does that
Yeah,
mean to you?
like he was very powerful, right? Um, I think it was Yavuz Sultan Selim, right? Or Sultan,
Sultan Suleiman.
okay, Sultan Süleyman. He was the greatest at that time, and he was ruling almost one third of the world, right? And he was beyond everything, beyond our perspectives. And he saw that there's nothing that could be much more powerful or anything, beyond the power, all of the powers, unless it's like a god. He saw that he's capable of everything, but at the same time, he's not. And even though he was ruling the one third of the world, he saw that he has nothing at the same time, because it's ephemeral and he doesn't care much, I believe, what he has so far, and he doesn't care much about what he lost. And eventually he dies. So it's a powerful and very meaningful for all humankind, I believe.
Yeah, that's a really
Hmm.
cool word you used, ephemeral. And
Hmm.
the way you put it in that context, I can see that as well. The way I looked at it was from a more romantic lens, and it's very similar to what you're saying.
Hmm.
I think the way I saw it was, or the way I see it is, you have a dream, let's say, and then that dream shatters.
Yeah.
And, it's sad, but you have enough confidence in yourself to say, okay, so what? Nigam, you move on. I have hundreds of other secret worlds. I have
Exactly.
hundreds of other. It's that confidence in yourself.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
more to the future.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm. I think it's a mindset of who believes beyond the life. If you believe that you have only one life and you live it and you die, no other lives. So it will be painful for losing a coin, a penny even, right? So I think it continues that gelen gider, giden gelmez. İki kapılı handır bu. Sakın insanı insafı terk etme, makamı imtihandır. So we are in kind of exam, right? We have been challenging with the problems and you don't care much. You shouldn't, it's going to be fine eventually and we all die and there's a afterlife, hopefully.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that line's a good one because
Mhm,
recently I read it from Naman Ali Khan actually from Diana, where
mhm,
he had said that in situations where you're facing all these trials and then you wonder, where's Allah? Where's God?
mhm, mhm.
He said, just remember that the teacher is quiet during the exam. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good analogy. That's the way to put it.
Right,
Quiet during
right.
the exam, and you have to finish the exam, whether you do good or bad, before you can move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. What else do you have about poems? You love
About
poems,
poems,
especially.
well,
Yeah.
there's a famous poem you introduced me to actually, which was what Yavuz Sultan Selim sends to Shah Ismail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember that one still. That was a pretty
Would you
profound
like to
poem.
repeat again? And for
Sure.
the go ahead if you have
Oh, I
it.
don't I don't have it on me.
Okay.
I
Uh,
wasn't thinking about that one.
okay. That's fine. What else? What else you inspire of, especially context of the poems and people?
Well, I myself am a poet, and looking back, it really surprises me how many poems I've written. And the fact that I haven't shared many of them with anyone
Mm-hmm. Just you wrote or you read?
that
Sure.
I've written, yeah, that I wrote. And
Mhm.
it's no understatement to say I've written thousands,
Wow.
but I've only revealed just a few.
Yeah.
And I have some spite sometimes when I look back at the ones that are just sitting in this treasure chest, waiting to be shown to the world. And the spite comes from the fact that I'm not the same person anymore. Like it
Right.
could still be a very beautiful poem, but I'm not the same person anymore. I don't have those same feelings anymore or
Mm-hmm.
those perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the dilemma is it's a beautiful poem. Maybe it should be put out there. It's just not the same person anymore.
I
So
see.
there's that disconnect in between.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you
How
ever
do you
feel like that in your life with anything that you do that you look at
Yeah,
it, you're
yeah.
like, it's just not me anymore?
We have been changing, Yeah, we are growing, we are maturing. So in Turkish poem, we have a Necip Fazıl who used to be agnostic or at least atheist, and then he converted to Islam, and he felt the same way, but he didn't um ashamed of, because it's another you, and you grow up and you change your mind. It's fine. Yeah, it's total fine. You can change your mind. You can change your ideology, especially in this context, and you even change your belief. And he changed his belief, and when he has been criticized by others, he said, "I throw away my history, my background, and if you mess with that, you seem like you are messing with the garbage in cat in the garbage. So you're playing with the garbage as a cat. So
Explain that. What does that mean?
I throw away my history, my background to the garbage, and you are playing with that, and you are seem like you're like a cat, street cat, stray cat.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he's
So
saying to the critics of his old poetry.
no, people are criticizing him, and he said that if you are messing with my history, that I change my perspectives, which is fine, totally fine. You seem to me like a stray cat, because I throw away to the garbage and you are playing with it. So it's a kind of different perspective, and yeah, people are changing, and without being ashamed of any. And if you are maturing, if you are changing your mind in a good way, you shouldn't be ashamed of. So I believe that it's a critical and good thing to being broaden your horizon and being in maturity.
Yeah, that was a really good example with
Hmm.
Najib Fazla and the stray
Yeah,
cat.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very powerful, man. Thanks for bringing
Right,
that.
right.
You always told me there was Najib Fazla, and then he had an opponent, the other
Mhm.
poet. Who was that guy?
Uh, Nazım Hikmet, who's
Nazim Hikmet.
left wing. He was a communist, and actually, most of the Turkish people, and it's divided in two. Some people loves him, some people hates him because of his ideology. I believe that these kind of writers use their ideology as a tool, as a gun, in their poems, and which is powerful at the same time. It's kind of dangerous. You are letting people to canalize to different perspectives, and you are using poems as a tool for your ideology. So that's why both sides have been criticized harshly. Um, yeah, lots of people are clashing in this context. Some people against Islam, some people pro-Islamist, and radical Islamist. So to some extent, people are loves them and hates them as you expect.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Michael Madsen. He's an American actor, and he had said in an interview one time,
Hmm.
"Who are our poets today?" And he put that question out. It's a very good question. Who are the poets of today, especially in American culture? I want to ask the same question about the Turks. Is poetry still relevant to the Turks? Who are the are there even iconic Turkish poets anymore?
I don't follow very much, to be honest. So I don't familiar with the current poems and the current novels. But I think it used to be better than now, as you expect, because of the social media and populist culture. Most of the things are being fake nowadays. At that time, if you write something, you felt it. You have a feeling about it, and that's why you wrote it. But nowadays, most of the people write it just for writing, for being popular, for being charismatic. They are using this as a tool for being fame. Um, that's why I believe that it's not as good as it used to be. But some people are still popular, but their ideology now is it's more rely on the politics instead of other things. That's why it polarize the people. There is a gap between the people in the context of politics. So it's kind of dangerous again, because these people using poems and novels as a tool to um, messing with the people. So it's it's changing, but in overall, it's kind of again as a tool. We are using that to let the people to certain directions.
Yeah, I've been reflecting on that myself lately. And there's definitely people that use these mediums as a tool for popularity or to promote whatever they think and this and
Yeah.
that. But it's not really the feeling.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
not
Feeling, yeah.
genuine, authentic.
Yes.
And I think about those people and I believe only a true writer can recognize that. Be like, that is different. That is an imposter or
Yeah,
fraud, you know? It's
exactly.
interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, I believe, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. You, for as long as I've known you, which is, come to think of it, almost 2 years now, which
Mhm.
is, wow, the time has really passed.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel that long. It feels like I met you not so
Yeah,
long ago.
yeah, yeah, me too.
But for as long as I've known you, you seem to have an eye for these things.
Hmm.
Like you have I mean, in English as well, but it's in Turkish, you have a very good command of language.
Hmm.
Where does that come from for you?
I grew up in Istanbul, and I graduated from really good college in Istanbul, which is Koç University, and Şehir University, which is closed, shut down, but still it was really good university. We have been taught like critical thinking, you need to read it to criticize it and to understand it from different perspectives. We didn't read just one perspective. We always read both sides and listen both sides and decide by myself, so which is improves my critical thinking skills. So I believe that all people should um, read both sides before deciding anything, because all people are biased by their background, culture, perspectives, ideologies. That's why people are thinking certain perspectives, and they they are not tend to criticize themselves. They are tend to criticize the others, the opponents, let's say. So that's why they have a certain perspective and they always promote that. And you feel that, you always, it is always, and you feel it easily and you catch it. But it is a good thing to see their perspectives, to understand the real situation. That's why you need to listen to others as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we were talking about that last week, and
Yeah,
you were saying about, Turkish people, it's always pointing fingers at the other side. It's
exactly.
never that maybe I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Never, never.
all we're all heroes in our own stories, right?
Exactly. The main characters, yeah. Main
Yeah.
character dilemma, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And to add, to speak to what you were saying, I think it's very true that you should be well aware or well versed in the other side. And if you're not, it might just be ignorance or disinterest, or maybe you're afraid that you will lose confidence in what you already believe.
Yeah, both.
But if
Yeah.
anything, to learn about the other thing should improve your own confidence in what you believe in already.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a knowledge era. You can easily find information and you can follow up and you can find out what is the truth in this era. It's not like hundreds years ago, you can find it anything easily from Google or you know it's somehow biased, but it's a quick search and you can find it easily what's the truth. As long as you are choosing being ignorant, it's your fault, in this era, because it's easy, you can check it out and you can find out the false claims and what's the truth. But it's easy to being ignorant, and people are tend to being ignorant because of their laziness, I believe. And as you said, it's harsh to facing the truth sometimes, especially if you are believing in an ideology, if you are believing your side is true, you know. if you are biased and if you are afraid of the being challenged with the truth, you don't want to face with the truth, you know. You don't want to listen to others as long as you are comfortable with um your room, you know, you are in a situation that you don't want to face with the truth and you don't want to mess with your friends, you know, and your ideology because it's totally wrong, you know, and you don't want to listen and you don't want to face like that. Yeah.
Dude, this is reminding me of something you told me once. You're like, man, in Turkey, if you go out with your friends sometimes and they're drinking and you're not drinking, they're not going to leave you alone. They're going to keep asking you, like, why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you
Right.
drinking? They just won't leave you alone. They won't, they got to know.
Yeah.
That's funny to me.
Yeah. And they think that it's ideological or they want to learn that is it because of your religion or because of your health. It doesn't matter, you know, it's your choice and you should be respect of that. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's so funny to me that that's how it is in Turkey. Because here it's
Yeah.
like nobody would care. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. People doesn't mind their business. They want to hear about the what's behind it, you know, all the time. They are very curious. Yeah. Sometimes it's dangerous, you know, especially your social circle, social people. Yeah.
How
Unfortunately.
different do you think is Turkish culture now compared to the times of your parents or your grandparents?
It's a good question. I mean, it's not only Turkish culture, but I believe all cultures has been changing because of the social media, you know, and because of the popular culture that is imposed by big brothers, let's say. So I believe that it changed a lot. It used to be more sincere, more outside. You being socialized in the streets, in the cafe, in the bars, you know. But now you've been socializing in social media instead of face-to-face relationships, as you are talking now, as you see. So, I mean, it has a good side and bad sides, but rather than talking with that, I believe that people have been corrupting and this cultural problems, you know, and people are less confident, as I see, to challenging their ideologies, and speaking about truth. They used to be more confident and they are more encouraged, you know. But now I see that people tend to write it in the social media rather than talking face to face, challenging it, you know, face with the truth. But they're instead of hiding behind the keyboards, and it affects human relationships, you know. And I think it's not going to better instead of it going worse, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think
About what exactly?
about the relationships nowadays and how what how was it?
Um,
Do you have any do you have any idea about yourself that you have been examining yourself and you see that I used to be like this, but now I am like this? What's your main changes in your characteristics and personality, let's say?
I am less trusting of people.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about people used to be more sincere, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, and I feel that even in myself, that I used to be just more trusting of people, wanting to believe in the goodness of people, and it's not to say that that doesn't exist, but
Mm-hmm.
I read from Robert Greene, it's so easy to fake your words. it's so easy to just be nice to someone with your words. What you got to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to is the micro expressions, the
Right.
little things that aren't immediately apparent.
Mm-hmm.
And one particular way that I've changed a little, I think, is I love giving compliments. I really do. I
Mm-hmm.
really love giving compliments, and I only give them to people if I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's such a big compliment, such a beautiful compliment that people think, oh, that's probably a lie or that's fake or he's just trying to be really nice to get to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't say that to me, but then the
You
way
feel
that they sort of react to me or interact with me over time changes.
mm-hmm.
And that was disappointing to me.
Right.
I could understand where it was coming from because the way the world is, but
Yeah.
to have my eyes open to that okay, I have to tone down my compliments. I
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
be too nice to people because they
I
they write
misunderstood.
you off. You become like the garbage that the stray cat plays with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
probably that. But
Mm-hmm.
what about you? How do you feel that you have changed, if at all?
Yeah. I mean, I lost my trust in people too, but I'm doubtful about because whether it was because of the culture, because of the people, or I am being mature. I was a kid, I was very hopeful for humankind, but I see that it's not all the case, and some people doesn't have good faith and they abuse it. If you have it and trust on them, they abuse it easily. Especially in Turkey nowadays, if you are nice to some people, they feel that you are weak, which is very shameful and unfortunate. But
Yes.
they believe that you are weak, that's why you are being nice to them, and they feel like they're superior than you. But it's not the case. You are being nice to them, and they have to be nice to you as well. But they instead abuse it, which is very sad to me. And um, yeah, I've been like changing in this context, and I lost my faith in some people and trust as well. That's why I kind of biased. I mean, to all humankind, I don't trust anybody as long as they gain my trust. So I start with a zero. As long as the time goes and they gain my trust, we increase their credit score, let's say. Trust score, yeah. So, yeah, I would say like this because people are changing, culture is changing, everything's changing. We are in stream, time flies and everything's changing. Fortunately, in a good way, in a bad way, but we can't catch it out. It's changing, obviously.
Yeah. Um, this is why I think this is what makes me think Islam is so special because it's like the antidote to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
All that sort of, oh, if you're nice, you're weak. Islam says, no, actually, that's not the case. It's the opposite. It is strong to be a kind person, to be a good person, a person of character. And it it's like it's the example to live up to. And it might not be easy because the world can be so antagonistic to it, to those ideals of being a good person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess for every person, you have to sort of navigate it yourself. You have to be able to read the room, read the other person. Just it's there's a lot that goes to it that
Mm-hmm.
the individual has to solve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I believe, yeah.
yeah. But another thing that I find cool is when I meet someone optimistic about the world and things.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pastor friend, Brooks. He's been on the podcast, and I remember one time I was talking to him about how it seems like the world is going in a terrible direction because of, all the crazy problems that exist. And he was very calm and very smooth. And he said, I'm actually very hopeful about the world. I think things will get better. And meeting someone optimistic like that, just in the wild of the world, it alters your perspective
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of gives you hope too. It's contagious. And you think,
Mm-hmm.
wow, there's people out there that think positively. Maybe I could have some of that and
Mm-hmm.
make it grow.
Hopefully, yeah, we must. Yeah, we must. As long as we want to live, we have to have a hope at least to live. Otherwise, we be depressed, So it's some extent we have to have some hope about the future, about ourselves, about humankind. Otherwise, we will be depressed and we can't overcome with this challenging situations, right? So we have to be hopeful, but being too hopeful, being so optimistic could be dangerous as well, like a opposite side of depressed people, You are,
Poisonous positivity.
yeah, I mean, living in a dreamland, It's not real, it's a fake. So hallucinations, being, yeah, it's kind of dangerous as well.
Yeah. Dude, I wanted to ask you, what do you remember as a kid? Do you remember when Boris Shakarsu first became a big name? And then when he died, what all do you remember of that time? I know we're shifting gears a little bit, but I'm curious.
You are a fan of Barisha Cows, right? I
Yeah.
should have expect that. Yeah. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't really vividly remember what happened, about his accident, his career. But at that time, he was quite popular. But I don't remember who was the most popular one. But he was the one of them, I believe, and he used to be a singer at the same time he used to be an actor, and he was playing a TV show, and suddenly he died, unfortunately, and it was quite shocking news for us, But some fans very sad about that. But at that time, I was a kid and I was quite sad, but I don't remember that how harsh to me, So it was a nice person. He used to be building some schools in eastern part of Turkey to help kids,
Whoa.
He's, he was a kind person and he always helped others, And he had a decent lifestyle, He wasn't show off too much and he was quite famous and he able to handle it, He didn't uh, went to like let's say gambling and some drugs, etc. He was quite decent lifestyle and he he acted as a role model to young people, right? Like you, right? So
Uh,
what do you think about him?
no, I think he was the first Turkish musician I was exposed to. If I
Hmm.
remember, actually, it might have been Mustafa
Ken
Ceceli.
Karaca.
Or Jem Cut, well, around the same time, but he was definitely one of the first that I was
Mhm.
introduced to.
Yeah.
And I liked his music, but I ask about that because it seems to me, from an outsider's perspective, that that was a big moment in time in Turkey. That
Hmm.
oh, he just died, and that was all of a sudden unexpected,
Hmm.
and it kind of makes me think of Michael Jackson and his death because
Right.
as a kid, I wasn't tuned in to the world of Michael Jackson, but when he died, I knew it was a big
Yeah.
deal. It was all
Yeah.
over the news, and it was a
Hmm.
thing. It was a
Right.
big thing. So
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Similar. Yeah. I believe it's kind of shocking news at that time. Yeah.
yeah,
Because of his accident, he was really young. He was a superstar at the same time, Also, Tarkan, he's a good singer. He's quite famous around the world.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't compare with these people, but I think he used to be very popular in Turkey as well. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. In a way, it seems like a star that, because all stars are like in real life, the stars, they're just exploding. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems like he was a star that was going up and then just all the lights went out.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
of them are gone.
Yeah, yeah.
When I watched different Turkish TV shows and movies, to me, it seemed like the years of 2008, 2009 Turkey, it was like a golden age to live in
Yeah.
Istanbul. And you actually were living there at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What would you say of that time? 2008, 2009, 2010?
Yeah, modern Turkey. Yeah, I mean, it used to be like a Kanuni Sultan Süleyman era of modern Turkey. It was quite popular in Europe, in Middle East, around the world, especially Asia. So we were a role model to some countries, and they admire of us and their our economy, our culture. We were exporting a TV series. We are still, but at that time it was quite popular around the Arab cultures, around the Europe and Asia, let's say. So at that time it was quite powerful, and especially the Erdogan's Davos meeting. It was a quite break-even point, for Islamist cultures and countries. They were admire him. He used to be a role model at that time. Still, he has some charismatic uh, affection on these countries, but at that time was peak. He was really good charismatic leader at that time, and the economy was really good, and people were very happy, and there wasn't much, let's say, immigrants. There wasn't any immigrant problem in Turkey at that time, and people were coming back to Turkey from Germany, Europe, and even America. So at that time was quite popular for even Turks and rest of the world. So at that time, Turkey was shining, and the investments skyrocketed at that time in Turkey, direct investments. So I would say it was the best time for Turkey, especially modern Turkey, Republic of Turkey. But when we compare with the history, I would say it's just a regular time, when we compare with the Ottoman Empire, Seljuk Empire.
That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Regular time.
right.
And the reason I brought this question up, by the way, is because I was watching Ezel the other day, just randomly put it on. And I think it takes place around that time. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
like, just look at the sort of the scenery of the city and this and that. It looks like
yeah,
it was
yeah,
a good time. The first time I ever went to Istanbul was 10 years ago, which is crazy
oh,
for me to say now in 2014.
right.
But that was such a beautiful moment. And it felt different when I returned in 2016, I think because of the Syrian immigrants. But it was
Hmm.
still nice. 2019, it was amazing. It was beautiful.
Hmm.
The last time I went, which was about a year ago or over a year ago, um, it felt kind of gray, man. It
Yeah,
felt gloomy. It
yeah,
felt different.
right, right.
And it's for me, just as a traveler, it's interesting to notice those differences in
Yeah,
a place over time.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, because of the economy, because of the um, climate, polarization, and people are suffering because of the economy, inflation, and they can't do anything. They can't even speak about it. They can't be opponents to government because they're afraid of being jailed. So freedom of speech is very important for modern democracies. And that's why people are angry about some people, but they can't do anything about that. That's why they are mean to others, because you are voting for him. That's why I have to be mean to you because
Mm,
you are the consequence and the reason for this challenging time. So people are kind of being enemy to each other, unfortunately. Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's very um, seeable, let's say, to others as well as a tourist. You can easily pick that what's going on and what has been changed. People are changing, the climate's changing, political climate, let's say. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah. But I guess it's just another piece in Turkish history, huh? The ups and downs, the ups and downs.
Yeah.
There's so many of those in Turkish
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
So fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, dude, those videos are hilarious. Like the Animal Planet ones in Turkish.
Mhm.
Like I think you showed me one. It was a honey badger or something, and then the video is like Bumanyak, like this maniac. Look at him and what he's doing. And it's just so funny when they're dubbed in Turkish.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
Animal
that one,
Planet
yeah,
things.
it's very funny, hilarious, yeah.
Oh my
Sometimes
god.
I was talented about it, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's something else.
I agree, yeah. The comedy sector is quite popular in Turkey because it's the only thing that people can laugh about it nowadays. So it's playing a critical role in Turkish culture, let's say. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, comedy. It makes a big difference.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you can be so strung up in a routine in life or a rhythm,
Hmm.
and then you stumble upon a funny video and it changes everything.
Yeah, I agree, yeah, yeah. It's like a lifesaver, sometimes.
Yeah, no,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of Turkish culture, there's so many fascinating figures that come out of the Turkish ethos. One of them is um, what's his name? Adnan Oktürk, is it? Or is it Öztürk?
Oktar.
Oktar, yes.
Yeah.
Kedicek. That was a
Kadir.
crazy documentary.
Did you watch it?
I did. That was wild.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's quite wild, and I don't want to say keep unfortunate, but it's reality, and you see that it's very common. And how come? How come you can raise a children such a country? So you are expecting that your children learning some, um, let's say, Islamic rituals, and getting wise about Islam, getting conscious about Islam. But in fact, it's totally different, and that's why young generation being against Islam, Islamophobia is increasing in Turkey, and atheism is increasing as well amongst the young generation because of the government, because of these public figures. It's very common, and people are saying that this structure, let's say this Adnan Oktar believers has been abusing since 1970s, 80s. It's I don't know what to say. It's like a 40 years. It's like a lifespan. So people are aware of that and nobody does anything. It's like a daring devil, let's say. So it's funny and very tragic. I don't know what to say about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost, I mean, similar, but still different. It's like a Jeffrey Epstein thing. Everybody
Hmm.
knows about it, but nobody does anything.
Exactly. because of the power. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, the you were talking about just the increase of like atheism and stuff
Hmm.
in Turkey. How far back does that go historically, from what you're aware? Because it seems to me like, and I could be wrong, there could be more to it, but I would say like after the ending of the Janissaries in the 1800s, a lot changed in Turkey and in the culture. Because the
Hmm.
Janissaries for a very long time were the powerhouse, even of
Hmm.
the Ottoman Empire. What
Hmm.
they say goes. Once you
Yeah.
get rid of them, I feel like there's almost no handle on the culture. And
Hmm.
now the culture is free to change in whatever direction it wants to go.
Hmm.
There's no guard dog to keep
Hmm.
them in place. What do
Right.
you think? Is that an accurate perspective?
I mean, yeah, but it's kind of long story, it has been started maybe from ending of Ottoman Empire, like foundation of modern Republic of Turkey. With the Atatürk, they have been admirer of Europe, and they have been dictating the Europe culture and disciplines, which is somehow, to some extent, was useful for modern Turkey, but the culture itself wasn't the right thing to implement directly to another culture, It's like you're admiring of Europe doesn't mean that you should duplicate, implicate all culture itself to the Turkish culture, That's why some people criticize about that. But when we talk about being agnostic, I believe that skyrocketed the recent times, like 10 years, because of the recent government, because of their corruption. A young generation easily sees that, and because of the social media, you can suppress the media, cultural and common media, mass production, but at the same time, you can suppress the social media to some extent, and they sees that what's going on. They can criticize the ideas, challenging the truth, and they can find easily what's the problem and what's the truth, So that's play a very critical role to changing the mindset of the young generation, I believe. That's why they are becoming agnostic because modern Turkey using and abusing the religion as a tool nowadays.
Yeah,
That's
you
lead,
mentioned that to me once. I
yeah,
remember.
such as Adnan Oktar, So he used to abuse the religion, and he has been using this as a tool to manipulate people, and that's why he has lived like a 40 years, So he survived it, and eventually, I don't know what happened, but um, they collapse, So people sees that and judging that Islam is a not the right religion to believe because if you believe in Islam, if you are a Muslim, you become like a Adnan Oktar. So that's a huge dilemma, So
Yeah. What's crazy about that is Dr. Zakir Naik. He's a famous Muslim speaker, and he's one of the good guys. There's like some book that he teamed up with Adnan Oktar about, or Adnan Oktar presented it to him. I think there's a famous
mm,
book that he's written or something. So it's just so funny. It's like it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. You don't know how people really are, but
yeah,
they kind of see him a certain way, and then later on, it's like, oh, that guy
hmm,
was actually pretty wild. He had his own little cult.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly,
Yeah, it
yeah,
is interesting. But I brought up that Janissary question because the Janissaries have always fascinated me.
Hmm.
and their disbandment, of getting rid of them. Because with the whole conversation about the atheism, the agnosticism, of course, there's Ataturk and stuff, but I'm curious about that era between the Janissaries and before Ataturk, like the Young Turks
Hmm.
and the final Ottoman sultans. Would you say that stuff contributes to the agnosticism and atheism today?
I don't see any correlation, but it could be. I'm not very expert about this topic, but I believe that yes, there is a to some extent they have a disciplines, they have an ideology which is against being against to any religion, I believe. So they were very professional. They were thinking that religion shouldn't be in the state. So let's get rid of it. So I believe young Turks admire about Europe as well, and they've been trying to get rid of the Islam because Islam was very inside of the state because of the Caliphate and Ottoman Empire. It's intersects very deeply. So they try to get rid of it because they has to settle about nationalism, and they have to be set as certain rules to unite people. And Islam was against their ideology because they were trying to set certain rules about Turks, and their ideology was we have to unite around the Turkish nationalism. That's why
Yes.
it was powerful at that time, and they think that we have to do this to settle down and set up a country, set up modern Republic of Turkey, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a tool, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. It's funny to me because the seculars, they wanted to get rid of religion and stuff, but I would argue they joined a new religion, Ataturkism. And it's
Right.
always fascinated me. George Washington is a national hero of America. He's a founding father.
Hmm.
But you're not going to go into a regular American's house and find a painting of him in their home. But with the Turks, it's different. It's like Ataturk became a new god to the Turks. You
Love
could
that.
walk into a house,
Hmm.
and more than likely, you'll find an image of him somewhere.
Hmm.
It's it's incredible to me how that man was able to do that. I can't even wrap my head around how he did it. That he
Right.
became almost like a new god to the Turks. It's
Hmm.
insane.
It's kind of complicated, but the main point was there was a collapsing empire, and you have to settle down and you have to establish a country. And at that time was very challenging, and he did it in a short time of period, very strongly. Could be bloodily. He he killed some people to his ideology to improve his ideology, but you kind of must to establish a country. You have to do a revolution, and revolutions are not easy, right? That's why people think that he saved us from being a mandate of America or Europe. We gain our sovereignty because of him,
Yeah.
and we admire him. He is a role model. He's a charismatic leader, as now Erdogan, but he used to be very charismatic and very powerful, and he used to be a role model for even Europe, at that time. So,
Yeah, it's crazy. Aleister Crowley, who was like a certified magician back in the day, like black magic stuff. It's interesting. He named his son Ataturk.
Wow,
That is yeah, it was his son's middle name, I believe. And that always
interesting.
I was
Yeah,
always confused by that, yeah. But
yeah,
I will say about Ataturk that from what I know, I feel like he was the only man at that time who could have done with Turkey what he did. I feel like if he wasn't there, it's very likely that foreign powers would just dig in like it's a pie or it's a pizza and
yeah,
just
he did
piece
already.
it
Yeah,
apart.
yeah.
So in that regard, I do think he was the man for that job to protect the nation.
Hmm.
But yeah, it always it surprises me because as I said, George Washington, national hero for the revolution, but you're not gonna find images of him regularly in somebody's house. But with Ataturk, it's different.
Right.
He seduced a culture. It's it's something to be studied, which by the way, it has been studied by so many people. There's so many books written about him. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, yeah. You can find easily any Turkish restaurants. Atatürk's profile, picture
He
easily.
he wrote a book too, didn't it? Wasn't it what was
Nutuk,
it called again?
Nutuk.
Nutuk. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever read that book?
Not really. Yeah, big book. Yeah,
Yeah.
fortunately. But I should, it's a really good one. And he has other books like mathematics and geography and
When I went to his mausoleum in Ankara, they had a section where it's like Atatürk's Quran collection, and there were
wow.
different Qurans, and I was like, "What?" It's that's
Some
interesting.
people believe that he believes Islam, and he got married with a lady. She has a hijab, and some people thinks that he used to be religious to some extent. But some people are thinking that he's agnostic, he is atheist. Some speculation is going on, but no one knows the truth, but God. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we shouldn't care about much, because it's not our problem. It's his problem. And the only thing that we should um, admire about his vision, his principles, not his characteristics, what he has done. He founded a country, he saved people. He founded a huge country and he gave it to us without any price, So, which is priceless and which is precious to us, we should be thankful and grateful for that. Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you ever hear the azan in Turkish, or by that time it was already Arabic again?
No, at that time it was Arabic. Yeah. At that time it
Wow.
was Arabic. Yeah.
And were your grandparents alive when he was around, or was it your great grandparents?
Yeah, it was around 50s and 60s, I believe. Or Adnan Menderes changed it to back to Arabic around 60s or 50s, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, my grandparents heard that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I imagine it was your great grandparents that were alive during the time of Ataturk, huh?
Yeah, but I never talk with them because they
Yeah.
are, unfortunately.
Yeah. What do you call great grandparents in Turkish, by the way?
There isn't any
Eski,
um,
eski, they, no,
büyük baba maybe.
büyük
We,
büyük baba.
we call grandparents as dede,
Yeah.
and as long as you make it greater, you put a büyük, büyük baba, büyük baba, and so yeah, so on and so
Mm.
forth. Yeah, there isn't any specific word for two generations above it, and we just call it büyük baba. Yeah, but we don't call it büyük dede, which is funny.
I'm always curious about Turks who look like they're white, like yourself. Do you ever feel like your ancestors might have been Janissaries?
I'm not admirer of genre series, and I don't have much idea about them. We just wrote, you know, some some revolutions and some revenge, etc. in the history classes. But other than that, I didn't search about it. So I'm not a big fan of Janissaries, let's say. So I don't even know where I'm come from, you know. I know that my grandparents comes from northern east part of Turkey, which is close to Georgia and Russia, and which affects this region people skin color and eyes color, you know, etc. But other than that, I don't know much about it, you know. Even Ottoman empires, even caliphates, are not uniquely Turks. You know, they had different ethnicities,
Yeah.
mom and dads. You know,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, there's so much mixed blood in that dynasty.
yeah,
I remember you mentioned that to me before as well, that they don't teach you, or when you were in that system, the school system, they didn't teach you much about the Ottomans.
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
Fatih Sultan Mehmet, Sultan Süleyman, and that was
And lead
kind of
figures,
it.
yeah, yeah, lead figures, and some wars, and that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I asked that question about the Janissaries because so many of them, if not all of them, were from Europe, and then they kind of integrated into the Ottoman society, and then they had
Mm-hmm,
children and stuff.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's funny actually. Ataturk, you've probably seen the image. He has a he's wearing Janissary clothes. There's this one famous image of him. He's wearing Janissary clothes. And actually, I just remembered. You probably know about this, where he got shot, but he survived because there was like a little book, or was it a little a watch or something, right?
Yeah,
That was
watch. Yeah.
protecting him.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy that he
Yeah,
survived just because of that.
yeah, that's insane. But at the same time, he lost his left eyes during the war, I guess.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, that's why one of his eyes looking the other side, which is fake, I guess.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you pay attention, then you can see that. But other than that, yeah, he was a war hero. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And he also, they say, wasn't Turkish. I mean, maybe his dad, but I think his mother was Greek or something like that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he
He
was
born,
born in Greece.
yeah, he born in Greece, but at that time it was Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
That's the interesting thing about the Turks is collectively it's the umbrella of Turkey and
Mm-hmm,
Turkish culture, but inside it's again a lot of mixed blood, a lot of different people
mm-hmm.
that make this culture what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Jem Karaca, he's one of those as well. I
Mm-hmm,
think his mom was Armenian and his dad was something else as well, Georgian maybe.
mm-hmm.
So it's interesting where all these different people come from.
Yeah, it's like a common part, you know. Turkey is a big country, and at the same time, it's middle of everything. So at the time of Ottoman Empire, we have we like a big New York, you know. You can see any ethnicities in the Ottoman Empire at the same
Yeah.
time. You can see all the languages and cultures, etc., and they protected it. So which is quite unique to me, you know, and it used to be like that. That's why people are living in peace. So that's why even Jews were powerful in Ottoman Empire and Turks, modern Turkish of history. That's why um, people live in peace. But it's kind of changing now because of the immigrant problems, etc. So xenophobia, it's kind like trending now almost everywhere. Yeah, it used to be different. Hmm.
Let's talk about music because you're a big music guy, and as I mentioned earlier, that you have that eye and that ear for
Hmm.
lyrics and for writing.
Hmm.
What's one of your favorite songs that you've been listening to these days?
I mean, I grew up in Turkey, in Istanbul, and I raised like Barış Manço songs, as you know. Almost all of them has a story and which is kind of useful for your daily life even, you know. So I really like Barış Manço's songs. Um, I always admire him personality and his songs, you know.
He's like a Turkish vampire.
Yeah, he's a kind of role model to us.
Yeah, he's an icon. He's an
Yeah,
icon.
he's an icon. He's kind of Michael Jackson. Um,
Yeah.
he has a own culture and own disciplines, ideologies, you know, even the not in like a religion, you know, he's illustrating as a role model and he's illustrating a unique person that everyone has to be like this, kindness, trustful, you know, trustworthy and um like a role model person, you know. So he always dictating this role model to us via the song, you know, which is
Can
quite.
you give an example of one of those songs that speaks to you?
For example, Ahmet Bey'in ceketi, you know,
We've
when
talked about this one. I
yeah,
remember.
and even even the you sounded like what kind of song is this? But if you pay attention, any of them, you can see that he's giving a recipe of a cure of flu, you know. If you
Yeah.
do that he's singing in the song, you can get well soon, you know, easily. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And by
So,
the way, for the people that don't speak Turkish, Ahmet Bey'in Ceket, that means Mr. Ahmet's jacket. It's such a
yeah,
random name for a song.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember the name of the song, but he wrote a song about AIDS, you know, and it was a ritual to, let's say, all Turkish culture that during the Bayrams, you should go to the um cemetery and you visit your ancestors, you know,
On
and
Eid. Yeah.
yeah, on Eid, which is very unique to us. And nowadays, I don't see anything about that. People are going holidays during the Eids, even not visiting their relatives, you know.
Wow. So he
Yeah.
wrote a song about Eid and just,
Yeah.
wow.
Even Eids, you know.
One of my favorite songs from him is Bin Bohan'ın Kızı. I don't know if you know that song.
I think, yeah, I did. Yeah.
There was a time in my life where I would listen to that, and that was like my theme song. Anywhere I'd walk in, I'd have it on my headphones, and I'd be like, yeah. It has
Yeah.
that catchy beat to it if anybody
Yeah.
listens to it. Bin
Yeah.
Bohan'ın
Also
Kızı.
very unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of emotional and powerful songs. Yeah. I really like them.
Yeah. To
Hmm.
me, though, I think probably of all the Turkish musicians, it's Cem Karaca who like captures my soul. It's, whoa, what did he sing about? That's amazing. And
Hmm.
especially that one, I think it's called Lumine, where he's just talking about sitting on the bed, being sad, and it's cold. Or the other one where he's like, "Ishchi." Yeah, I think
İşçi
it's
sen, işçi kal.
"Ishchi Ishchi
Sin.
Ishchi Sin Sin Sen Ishchi Ka," right? That's the
Yeah.
one. It's been a
Yeah.
long time since I heard it, but basically, you're a worker, stay a worker.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Being an underdog. Yeah.
being
It's,
an underdog. Yeah, yeah.
mm, mm, yeah. Status quo, let's say. Yeah. It's at that time, it's very powerful, you know. There was a caste system in Turkey. It's still there, but at that time, it was very um, strong, let's say, powerful, and you can see easily. So he wrote about a song and to, you know, let the people uh, being işçi, underdog, and being happy with that, you know, because you don't have anything other than being hopeful, you know. But
Yeah.
it's kind of sad song.
And it hits more. I've been to Istanbul in the winters and
Mhm.
also in the spring, right? And it's a very different city. It's a very different,
Yeah,
like just the feeling. And you, of
four
course,
seasons.
you've grown up there and you've seen it. It can get really depressing in those winters.
Right,
And so the
right.
Cem Karaca songs, a lot of them to me, I kind of imagine just that the gloomy gray winter of Istanbul, and somebody's listening to that, working,
Exactly,
just
exactly.
doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, at that time, especially there was a right and left fights, during the uh, Turkish governance, and it was very bloody, so people were fighting and killing each other because of their ideology. So it was very dark area of Turkey. Yeah, unfortunately.
Were you in Istanbul in 2016 when there was that coup against Erdogan?
Yeah, it was funny because I was working and my Kazakh friend, he we were living in Kazakhstan, I guess. He saw a news like you and let me know that there's something going on, kind of seems cool. And I didn't know that until I went back to home. So it was a late coup attempt, and it was very unfortunate because many people died in this coup attempt. And yeah, it's a long story, but sure, people are divided to different ideology. One of them was Gülenist, the other one is Erdoganist. It's like a Kemalist.
Right
So
now, it's crazy for me to think that the Gulenist would even have that kind of power. It seems like
mhm,
it's. I mean, obviously he's dead now, but
yeah,
it's
yeah, but
crazy.
he has invested a lot in young generation in Turkey, which improved the economy as well. But at the same time, he gained a power over the bureaucracy or the uh, army. So he led the coup attempt at that time.
From
And
America, right?
yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wild. And I think I told you this. I was at a play and I heard like one of his live recordings before, like 2 weeks before he died. Like, damn, it's
hmm
crazy.
hmm
Just you never know time and place where you're gonna be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't know when you're gonna die. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
at that time, since then, there's no Gülenist, Gülen sympathy in Turkey. Um,
Seems
but
like it's evaporated.
yeah, until then, um, it was a very powerful figure in Turkey as well. Some people believe that he used Islam as a tool again. He abused that too for his ideology. But one of his ideology was like a colonialism, teaching the Turkish to everyone and speaking Turkish culture, living the culture across the world, which is very
Oh,
powerful. And it was kind of role model at that time since they figured out that he is using this as a tool as well and he's abusing people's belief culture as well. So he gained a lot of power in Asia, Europe, America. So yeah, it's kind of
that's very fascinating because
hmm
I've always wondered the Turks look so European, but so many of them don't speak English. And by the way,
exactly.
your English is very good, honestly.
Thanks so much.
I was talking to my dad about this one time, and he was telling me it might be because the Turks feel like we were so powerful throughout history. Why do we need to learn any other languages? We have our own. This is our own culture. And so when you're talking about that sort of colonialism,
Yeah, yeah,
that
but
that's an interesting association there.
mhm.
Maybe that's what it is.
I mean, that was the um, dream. That was the dream about being powerful and exporting culture to other countries. Um, but as I see that because of the education, there's no good education about um, languages. Like no, nowadays it's no education at all, unfortunately. because they are abusing that too, and they want to being ignorant to manipulate easily in modern Turkey, as America, as other countries. But I believe that it wasn't because of the uh, ego, let's say, the confidence. It was because of the education. So most of the people not educated well in Turkey, not educated equally as well. So that's why some people speak fluently, but most majority of Turks can speak English very well, even though we're surrounded by most of the speaking in Arabic, English, Russia, so we don't know any of them, unfortunately. We don't. We are being more ignorant than confident, It's very unfortunate.
Wow. The way you said that is so powerful.
Hmm.
Ignorant more than confident. That's really something, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's deep.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
But ignorance is bliss, Most of the people are lazy and they don't want to be educated and they don't want to face with the truth as well. Again, once again, it's a common dilemma in Turkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I believe it. Dude, this has been a fun conversation. And you and me, we can go on for hours as we have
Yeah,
in real life.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm wondering, man, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say but didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
It was a really good conversation, and I really like it too. We have been talking these kind of topics, but in here it was quite nice experience, because we have audience, even though we don't see them, but we recorded it and it's fascinating, It's really nice talking with you, especially as a foreigner who are very confident about Turkish culture and some extent you are more confident than me because I'm not interested some extent some history, but you are digging deeper than me. So
Yeah, the way you brushed off the Janissaries, you're like, I'm not interested. No,
exactly,
I've told you this before. My cousin, she told me, she's like, Omar, you were Turkish in another life, and I believe it
exactly,
somewhere in
exactly.
my soul.
Yeah,
Benim
yeah,
ruhum Turk, right? It's
yeah,
pretty.
exactly.
Yeah,
Which is quite nice and
yeah,
unique, and I'm proud of you, and but at the same time, I'm proud of being Turk, but at the same time, I don't like to show off because I didn't choose it, it wasn't my choice. It was given to me, and I didn't choose to this history and this culture, but I've been living there, and I should be confident about it and encouraged to be proud of it, and I am. But at the same time, I don't understand and why people are so nationalist, fascist, and being proud of it and showing off it because you didn't choose it. You didn't have any choice about it, and it's given to you as a gift, as a challenge, at the same time because none of our history is clean, All countries has um, bad history and bad experiences, So yeah, I'm proud of it. At the same time, I don't want to show off about it, but you are very confident and you would love to be Turks at the same time, which is encouraging me to speak about Turkish culture with you. And I love talking about Turkish culture with you.
damn,
Um,
yeah.
sometimes you broaden my horizon, you deep dive and you show me what I haven't seen, as a
Yes,
foreigner.
as do you to me.
Exactly, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very fascinating. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words and a very good point you made, man. I mean,
Hmm.
Turks were definitely the rulers of history by my books, but you're right. Like yeah, nobody chooses to be born into that. You know,
Exactly.
it's a very fascinating point to think about, man.
yeah, proud of it, but it's just a being thing, it's not a big deal, and it's your part of history. You should be proud of it. And showing off is another history and another story. And I don't think that it's a good, healthy um, characteristics,
Yeah, it should be. There should be maybe like I
in
remember when
between.
I was younger, I was so fixated on the Turkish culture and the Persian culture, and
Hmm.
Arabs and Pakistanis and the Muslim stuff.
Hmm.
But then I expanded my own horizons, and I said, "Well, I'm an American. What's the beauty of my culture here?"
Hmm.
And not only here, but around the world. Like, what's interesting about Norway or Australia or
Yeah.
India or
Yeah.
um, Mali? Just different cultures
Mhm.
around the world. Everybody has something
Unique
beautiful.
story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody has unique story, yeah. And it's worth to listen, right? I
yeah,
appreciate to giving the stage for me, you know. It was nice conversation.
yes,
Thank
sir.
you for inviting me here.
Yeah, and hopefully we can do this again when we
Hmm.
have the actual studio, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, it was great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
The
so
first Turk to be on this podcast. I've been waiting forever, and you were the one. So thank
I'm
you.
proud of it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Suppose until next time, man. Inshallah.
See you. Take care.